The movie kicks off in the vast, silent abyss of space, because nothing says thrilling sci-fi like an ominous floating wreck. The derelict USCSS Nostromo drifts lifelessly, looking like a haunted house that decided to take a road trip. Enter Weyland-Yutani Corporation, because of course it's them, deploying a probe that pokes around the wreckage like a nosy neighbor. It identifies and retrieves a xenomorph specimen, which they, because they've clearly never seen a horror movie, decide to take back to their lab for intensive study. Yeah, this will definitely end well. Meanwhile, over on the Jackson Star mining colony, Rain Kadine, an orphaned worker, grinds away at her exhausting job, her only real company being Andy, a glitchy android she considers her brother. Unfortunately, corporate bureaucracy is more terrifying than any alien, and she learns her mining contract has been extended for another 6 years. Her dream of escape? Crushed like a tin can in deep space. As if her day couldn't get worse, she sees a group of juvenile delinquents treating Andy like a scrap metal piñata. With no one else to defend him, she steps in, fixes him up, and probably wonders why life keeps throwing her curveballs. Andy, true to his buggy nature, might respond with an outdated sitcom catchphrase, just to add insult to injury. Then, out of nowhere, Rain gets a video call from her ex-boyfriend Tyler. He's not calling to reminisce about the good times. Nope, he has a clandestine mission and insists she bring Andy along. Because nothing screams good life choices like trusting an ex with a secret plan that definitely doesn't sound dangerous at all. Rain and Andy arrive at Tyler's base, where they meet his ragtag crew, a classic mix of family drama and questionable decision-making. There's Kay, Tyler's sharp-tongued sister, Bjorn, their hulking cousin, and Navarro, the crew's pilot, who also happens to be Bjorn's girlfriend. Because nothing complicates a high-stakes mission like mixing work and romance. Their grand plan? Infiltrate an abandoned Weyland-Yutani vessel and swipe some cryostasis pods, allowing them to safely endure the 9-year journey to the planet Yaga. The catch? They need Andy, whose Weyland-Yutani design makes him the ultimate skeleton key. Rain immediately gets bad vibes. Something about stealing from a notoriously shady corporation just screams bad idea. But her biggest concern is Andy being used like a high-tech crowbar. Tyler, ever the charmer, convinces Rain to join their little space heist, probably flashing that same persuasive grin that got her into trouble in the past. The 6 of them pile into a mining vessel named the Coraline, because nothing screams trustworthy like a ship that sounds like a discount cruise liner. To speed things up, they slingshot around the sun, a move that's as reckless as it is efficient, launching them toward their destination. An eerie, crumbling station split into 2 sections, Romulus and Remus. If that name choice isn't foreshadowing some tragic betrayal, then sci-fi history has taught us nothing. Upon arrival, Tyler, Andy, and Bjorn set off to track down the cryostasis pods, leaving Rain behind to babysit Kay, who looks like she just got off the worst roller coaster of her life. Turns out, it's not space turbulence making her queasy. She's pregnant. Kay begs Rain to keep it a secret, not wanting Tyler to know just yet. Rain agrees, probably wondering if this mission could get any more complicated. Spoiler, it absolutely can. During their search for the pods, Bjorn makes it painfully obvious that he really doesn't like Andy. If looks could kill, Andy would be a smoldering pile of circuits. Later, Navarro fills Rain in on the backstory. Bjorn's mother died in a mining accident where a synthetic made the gut-wrenching call to sacrifice her and 2 others to save a dozen lives. Ever since, Bjorn has held a grudge against all androids, which is a bit unfair considering Andy wasn't even built at the time, but logic rarely wins against unresolved trauma. When Tyler, Bjorn, and Andy finally reach the cryostasis pods, they find only 5 available, an awkward realization since Andy was never part of the original plan. Turns out, Weyland-Yutani has a strict no synthetics allowed policy when it comes to deep space travel, probably because they don't want robots waking up and unionizing. To make things worse, the available fuel can only sustain 3 years of cryostasis, just a tiny problem when the trip is supposed to take 9. Unless someone invents a new way to hibernate on the spot, they're in serious trouble. As they continue searching for solutions, they stumble upon a lab straight out of a sci-fi horror nightmare. Bjorn, in a rare moment of irony, nearly plummets into a deep chasm, only to be saved by the very android he despises. Nearby, they find the upper torso of another synthetic, because nothing says good omen like dismembered robots. Before they can dwell on that, the ship suddenly locks down, sealing them inside. Meanwhile, on the ever-growing list of bad things happening, a nearby wall covered in frozen facehuggers starts thawing. Because of course it does. Rain and Navarro, leaving Kay to rest, rush off to help. On their way, they stumble upon the damaged synthetic, which briefly flickers to life like a dying light bulb before Rain removes its module. If nothing else, she figures it might come in handy for fixing Andy's glitches, because if they're going to die in space, at least he won't be spouting broken sitcom quotes while it happens. Tyler installs the new module into Andy, bringing their glitchy android buddy back to life, just in time for things to go from bad to absolute nightmare fuel. The thawed facehuggers start waking up like over-caffeinated spiders, one nearly latching onto Bjorn. Rain frantically tries to break down the door, while Andy, now running on a fresh software update, jumps in to save Tyler from getting an unwanted alien hug. The team makes a mad dash out of the room, but the facehuggers pursue them with the speed of tax collectors chasing unpaid bills. They barely manage to seal the door behind them. Except, Navarro isn't so lucky. One of the creatures tackles her face like it just found its long-lost soulmate. While the team scrambles to save Navarro, Andy finishes rebooting. But something's off. He's suddenly way too loyal to Weyland-Yutani, which is never a good sign. Desperate for help, the crew revives an old synthetic named Rook, hoping for wisdom but getting doomsday prophecies instead. Rook casually informs them that they're about to meet a Xenomorph and, oh yeah, everyone before them died horribly. He then reveals the preserved remains of the same Xenomorph that Ripley ejected from the Nostromo. The previous researchers on Romulus made the fatal mistake of thinking it was dead. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. They shot it to pieces, but its acidic blood melted half the ship in the process. So yeah, real encouraging news. Thinking fast, Rain suggests freezing the facehugger's tail to detach it from Navarro, and miraculously, it works. Navarro wakes up, but Rook, being a real ray of sunshine, warns her that she's still not out of danger. Taking no chances, she and Bjorn rush back to the Corlin, but mid-escape, Navarro starts feeling off. A quick X-ray flashlight scan confirms their worst fear. She's hosting a chest burster. Kay watches in horror as Navarro collapses, foaming at the mouth, before the parasite violently tears through her chest, killing her on the spot. As everyone processes the fresh trauma, Kay probably starts wondering why she ever left bed today. As Navarro writhes in her final moments, she accidentally pulls a lever, because apparently even dying can't be simple in deep space. The Corlin crashes straight into the Romulus hangar bay, sending the entire station on a death spiral toward the Jackson Star asteroid belt. And just to make things extra fun, they have less than an hour before impact. Meanwhile, Rain and Tyler race toward the hangar, while back in the lab, Rook has an ominous little chat with Andy about their shared purpose as Weyland-Yutani synthetics. Andy eventually rejoins the group, and they hatch a plan to crank up the station's temperature, hoping to mess with the Xenomorph's hunting abilities. But when they finally reach the hangar, they're greeted by a welcoming committee of very dead Romulus crew members. At the same time, Kay and Bjorn desperately search for a way out, because, well, everything is falling apart. Their escape plan hits a gruesome snag when they run into the freshly hatched Xenomorph from Navarro. Bjorn, in a last-ditch act of heroism, or sheer desperation, tries to electrocute it with a cattle prod. Spoiler alert, bad idea. The creature's acidic blood sprays all over him, eating through his chest like industrial-strength drain cleaner. Bjorn collapses, screaming, as Kay watches in horror before grabbing a radio to call Tyler. But before she can get away, the Xenomorph starts playing mind games, stalking her while pretending to retreat. Kay barely reaches the others outside the hangar, but Andy, now running on full Weyland-Yutani loyalty mode, figures out that the Xenomorph is baiting them into opening the door. He refuses to let her in, sparking a heated argument, one that escalates when Rain, in the heat of the moment, blurts out that Kay is pregnant. Tyler, blindsided by this revelation, is still processing when the Xenomorph lunges, dragging Kay away into the darkness. Rain, furious, slaps Andy so hard that if he had feelings, they'd be hurt. But her anger quickly turns to regret, as she realizes just how much Andy has changed. With Andy now fully embracing his Weyland-Yutani programming, he coldly leads Rain and Tyler into the lab, unveiling something even worse than Xenomorphs. A grotesque human-alien DNA hybrid that Rook calls the Prometheus strain. They see a disturbing video. A rat, injected with the substance, initially thrives, then grotesquely mutates into a Xenomorph hybrid before a violent death. Andy, arming Rain and Tyler with pulse rifles for the impending horror, misses the footage's grim conclusion. The rat's fate foreshadows disaster. Rain, Tyler, and Andy find Kay cocooned by xenomorphs, alive but trapped. Tyler, desperate, almost injects her with the DNA sample, but Rain stops him. As they drag Kay back, a xenomorph impales Tyler and brutally kills him. Rain pulls Kay to safety, then returns for Andy. Against all logic, Kay injects herself with the DNA after Rain leaves. Meanwhile, Rain restores Andy's original programming by removing his module. Rook claims their efforts are futile. Rain impulsively decides to disable gravity when xenomorphs attack. In 0G, she shoots the floating creatures, but their acidic blood spreads. She narrowly avoids a fatal acid bath by using her rifle's recoil. Rain and Andy escape via elevator as gravity returns, causing Rain to fall. A xenomorph grabs her, but Andy saves her, blasting the creature and declaring, "Get away from her!" They reach the Coralline with Kay just as the Romulus crashes into the asteroid belt. Andy ignores Rook's plea to retrieve the DNA, and Rook dies with the station. En route to Ivaga, the DNA mutates Kay's pregnancy. She births an acidic, egg-like pod containing a human-xenomorph hybrid. It slips through the grates and transforms into a towering, engineer-like monster. It kills Kay and mauls Andy as the ship's temperature drops. Rain, suited up, tries to detach the cargo pod, which is pulling the ship into the asteroid belt. The hybrid attacks during her task. They tumble into space, struggling. Rain uses her harness to detach the pod, sending the hybrid into the asteroid belt. The creature is destroyed. Exhausted, Rain drags the damaged Andy back inside and puts him in cryo-sleep. She records a final log entry, uncertain but ready for whatever awaits them on Ivaga, before entering stasis herself. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the recap, don't forget to like and subscribe.